With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Tonight, with a special feature, extra added bonus heat just for you. That's right, when you step into the saloon tonight, you can expect 88 degrees, almost 90 degrees in the studio. So if you're looking to do some, I don't know, maybe hot yoga, I would submit to you tonight, this is the place to be. Right here in the saloon. Live and direct. It doesn't get any better than this. Belly up to the bar. We have, in fact, kept your seat. Might be a little sticky. Hope you're not wearing shorts tonight. Well, that's okay, because they're cloth seats. At least they're not vinyl, okay? We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Biff is being paid top dollar tonight for being here in the saloon. He's going to be your bartender. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is not lighted. Nothing here. The lava lamp light is out, so I've got to look for a replacement bulb, which I thought I had purchased, but obviously wasn't the right one. However, I would like to add one particular bonus, if I might, and that's this. Did you know, were you aware, that if you go to Dish, if you have Dish Net, as opposed to DirecTV, now at the bottom in there they have YouTube. So if you have Dish, if you go into YouTube, and you can watch me live right now. And also, if you want to go to the SHR Media Facebook page, we're live right now there, streaming. And the SHR Media YouTube channel, we're live streaming there too, which, as I indicate, you can pick up on your, if you have Dish, the Dish Network. Wow, great to see everybody. There's already two folks in chat, Whiskey Dale and Mary Brockman. Mary Brockman says, yeah, buy a bulb. Mary Brockman says, I love warm. Mary Brockman, you'd love it in here tonight. And there is no fan, by the way, in here, because if you put a fan in a studio with mics like this, the Shure SM7B, which this happens to be, and or like the other one that I've got over there, the Electro Voice RE20, they pick up everything. So you'd be hearing ooh in the studio, and that's a deal killer for a radio show. Tonight, we have a twofer. It's double shots night here in the saloon, and it's also BZ, put on your game face and smile a lot and sound upbeat because the sweat is running right down my back right now. And it was, let's see, when I got in here, it was 89 degrees, almost 90. I've dropped it down to like an Arctic 86 right now by opening the windows and whatnot for an hour before I get here. Mary Brockman says, count your blessings. Okay, well, I'm still on this side of the earth, so that could be a blessing as well. I wanted to start this out. This has been a while since I've heard this, but it's so good it bears repeating. And it's kind of funny. And for those of you who have forgotten what Johnny Carson sounded like.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, 2 nights.
And by the way, what's following Johnny Carson is one of the best bits he ever did on his show. Between himself and a guy you would never expect could be even remotely funny. Well, let's tune in.
What we've been doing the last month. And Jack Webb, who started on Dragnet. Most people forget that Dragnet was on radio before it was on television. And Jack Webb was the creator of that particular kind of style they did in Dragnet. Rather than conversations, it was the way he thought that normal people talk. You know, it was interruptions and look at each other directly and say, yeah, I didn't know that. And we had him on a sketch one night. Before I talk about it, I want to talk about going to Jack Webb's house. Did you know Jack well?
Not well, no.
He was a marvelous guy, big jazz fan. And some years ago, it must have been about 15 or 16 years ago, I get a call from Jack Webb because we'd gone to see Buddy Rich. And he says, have you ever met Jimmy Cagney? I said, no, and I idolized Jimmy Cagney. I mean, it was one of those bigger-than-life stars. And he says, he's coming to the house tonight. Would you like to come out and meet him? I said, I'd love it. And Jack lived at that time in Encino. Went out to his home one night, and he had a big recreation room down like in a basement. And he was an audiophile. And I walked in, and there is Jack Webb and his wife, the late Ralph Bellamy, Harry Morgan, who did the later episodes of Dragnet, and there sitting at the bar is Jimmy Cagney. Mm. And I don't get thunderstruck too much by people, but when you see Cagney sitting there, and he says, this is Johnny Carson. Cagney says, you know, I don't stay up late, but when I do, you're very good. And I looked at him and I said, that's terrific, the way you do it. I said, that's perfect. You sound just like him. I didn't know what to say. It was the best Cagney impression. Now, Jack Webb was an audiophile. He had a couple of Macintosh speakers the size of refrigerators and woofers and tweeters and Ampex tape decks. And during the evening, he went and put on the soundtrack from Yankee Doodle Dandy, just the music. And Cagney, if you remember, was a very good dancer. And all of a sudden, he got up and he walked out in the middle of the room and he started singing and dancing to the soundtrack with that kind of, I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, and sang the whole, you just sat there transfixed. I've never forgotten that. It was a great evening. Anyway, we asked Jack to come on the show, and I says, would you mind doing a Dragnet sketch with you? I'd never seen Jack. We've done a lot of takeoffs, but I'd never seen him participate in the sketch. So this is from February 19th, 1968. Great. I'm playing a civilian to Jack Webb's Sergeant Joe Friday.
1968.
This is the city.
It's smoggy as hell.
Los Angeles, California. Some people rob for pleasure. Some rob because it's there. You never know. My name's Friday. I'm a cop. I was working the day watch out of robbery when I got a call from the Acme School Bell Company. There'd been a robbery. There's been a robbery. Yes, sir. What was it? How's that? What was stolen, sir? I run a school bell company. Never had any trouble before. Can't understand it. Just make...
With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
Bells. Never had any trouble. Sir? What was stolen? My clappers. Your clappers. Yeah, you know those things inside a bell that makes them clang? The clangers. That's right, we call them clappers in the business. A clapper caper. What's that? Nothing, sir. Now, can I have the facts? What kind of clappers were stolen on this caper? They were copper clappers. And where were they kept? In the closet. Uh-huh. You have any ideas who might have taken the copper clappers from the closet? Well, just one. I fired a man. He swore he'd get even. What was his name? Claude Cooper.
Of course.
You think he...
That's right. I think Claude Cooper copped my copper clappers. Kept in the closet.
You know where this Claude Cooper is from?
Yeah. Cleveland.
That figures. That figures.
What makes it worse, they were clean.
Clean copper clappers.
That's right.
Why do you think Cleveland's Claude Cooper would cop your clean copper clappers kept in your closet?
Pretty good, Jack.
Only one reason.
What's that?
He's a kleptomaniac.
Who first discovered the copper clappers were copped?
My cleaning woman. Clara Clifford.
That figures. Now let me see if I got the facts straight here.
Wait.
Cleaning woman Clara Clifford discovered your clean copper clappers kept in a closet were copped by Claude Cooper, the kleptomaniac from Cleveland. Now, is that about it?
One other thing.
What's that?
If I ever catch kleptomaniac Claude Cooper from Cleveland who copped my clean copper clappers from kept in the closet,
Yes?
I'll clobber him.
Those are the days back when comedy was actually funny. Tonight, as I indicated, for the first hour, we're going to have KARI BAXTER DONOVAN on. And then for the second hour, we're going to have Dan Butcher on. And I'd like to do a little bit of a promo, if I could. Let's put this up here. There we go. I'd like to do a little bit of a promo for Thursday night because I have somebody coming that I've never had here before, but he's used to radio. I mean, if this guy on Thursday doesn't have the quintessential radio voice, and when you hear him, you're going to go, oh my God, he has a voice for radio, no doubt whatsoever. Well, okay, there's a really good reason he's got a voice for radio. It's because he's on radio. And he happens to be on the Hugh Hewitt Show every Friday afternoon. Or actually, it would be Friday morning now because Hugh Hewitt moved from California over to Virginia to do a show in D.C. So I used to listen to Hugh Hewitt all the time. Hugh Hewitt used to come on at 3 o'clock Pacific over here, and I would drop everything, and that's where I met a lot of the Tribbles. And as a matter of fact, let's see, there's a Tribble in chat, Whiskey Dale's in chat, and Beantown Billy, good to see you here as well. And so I would go to the Hugh Hewitt Show and get into the chat room in Hugh Hewitt, which that chat room was probably about a fifth as reliable as this one is right now. It would go down and crash, and radio blogger Dwayne Patterson would try to bring it up all the time. But I became friends with him and sent him a message, or a request, I should say, on Twitter. And so I've got Tarzana Joe from the Hugh Hewitt Show coming here on Thursday. Now, Tarzana Joe is a highly educated cat who's been doing the Hugh Hewitt Show, I think, now for about 18 years. I mean, he starts from Emmett of the Unblinking Eye. Boy, am I going back into history for some Hugh Hewitt type stuff. But he started with Hugh Hewitt there, and then he's been on Hugh's show basically regularly every Friday. It used to be Friday afternoon. Now Hugh Hewitt's on in the morning at 6 a.m. Eastern, which means if I want to get up to listen to Hugh Hewitt live, then my fat ass has to be up at 3 a.m. And I think you know the likelihood of BZ being up at 3 a.m. to listen to a radio show if he's not drinking is twofold, slim and none. So I miss the Hugh Hewitt show. I miss the Tribbles. The after show is on at 5 o'clock, but usually at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday. I'm deep into show prep for this one, so I don't get to be on the after show, on Dwayne Patterson's after show. In any event, Tarzana Joe pulls out poems, and he writes these great poems for the topics of the day. If it happens to do with politics, just whatever is the focus of the week's or the day's event, Tarzana Joe kicks some poem arse. And he's going to tell you the story of how he happened to get onto the Hugh Hewitt show. But basically, what I discovered after talking to him yesterday, I spoke to him live, is that setting up the show and telling him, asking him what I can talk to him about and what I can't, whatnot. Basically, what happened is he got onto the Hugh Hewitt show by lying. And what happened is that Hugh Hewitt was looking for apparently a Shakespeare professional, someone who was highly educated, who knew everything about Shakespeare. And, so what happened is that Tarzana Joe lied to Hugh and said, "Hey, I'm your professional. I'll be on your show, okay?" And he wasn't a Shakespeare professional, but he did know poetry. So just a heads up, Tarzana Joe is going to be on the first hour. He's going to call in about 8:15 Pacific and about 11:15 Eastern, and we'll chat for probably about 45 minutes to the top of the hour, either 9 o'clock here or midnight back there, or in Bolivia for Bolivian time at 1776 and 823.725 subcluster 2, paragraph 4, in Bolivian time. However, that being said, I would like to introduce my first guest for tonight. And my God, you've probably heard her in the background for the past 30 seconds or so. Let's see. KARI Baxter Donovan, fingers crossed. Does the phone work?
It's me. Can you hear me breathing? Am I panting or something?
No, I heard the sort of some scrappling going on with the telephone. But
God,
God,
I was trying to be so quiet, and then I was running. So
I know.
Oh no, my out of breath or something.
The
Yes,
phone.
hello.
The phone actually works. I'm shocked. I'm gobsmacked. I'm so happy.
Yes.
I'm so happy. I tell you what, it's like for a while I was thinking that, you know what, maybe God is trying to tell you, BZ, that you're not meant to be in the broadcast business because the phone was going down. And then at one time, we had 3 ways of making the phone work. We had Skype, which is what you're on right now. We had Magic Jack, of all things, Magic Jack. And then we had a 1-800 number. So we had 3 ways for people to call in the show. And at one time, none of them worked.
That's very diverse of you, or something, I think.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, and Whiskey Dale. Oh, I got to tell this story, too. I got Dan Butcher and Dan Butcher is hinky. Boy, he is really wary of me these days. Because last Tuesday, KARI, he was on, and we had the Magic Jack thing going, which is not this telephone number. And Magic Jack is the thing that you plug in. And then Dan would talk, and Whiskey Dale, thanks for reminding me of this. Dan would talk for about 5 minutes, and then it would drop him. The phone would completely drop him. And it got to the point where everybody in the chat room, and even myself, were going, okay, let's see. Should we start timing him to see if he drops off every 5 minutes? And I'll go to hell. He was killed every 5 minutes. So at the end of the show...
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I go look to find out about Magic Jack. And there's the arseload of complaints of people going, my Magic Jack cuts everybody out from 2 minutes to 5 minutes to 7 minutes to every hour. So, okay, I think we learned our lesson about Magic Jack.
No more Magic Jack.
No more Magic Jack.
I'm glad that I'm glad that didn't happen to me because then I'd have to start drinking some whiskey or something just to settle myself down.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible.
So
It'd be terrible.
thank God you are good luck for me right now. So thanks, KARI Baxter Donovan. So first, number one, I've had you on the show before, but I always tell you this. Tell folks where you can be found, where you can be read, and your social media sites.
Well, where I'm putting all of my articles up now is populistwire.com. And I love those guys over there. I have a whole team. Well, they're not my team. I mean, I'm in a team with them. We're a team together. And I like that a lot. I love these guys who are working on it with me. They have a fantastic Facebook page, The Populist Wire. And I'm putting articles up at thepopulistwire.com. And then I'm at KARI Baxter Donovan on Facebook. And at Happit, HAPPIT 1776 on Twitter, which is where I've been kind of hanging out the last few days on this story that I've been working on. And boy, we're going to get to that because actually there are two stories that ran back to back that you told me about when we talked earlier. Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing. Yay.
You know what I'm going to tell. You know what I'm going to say.
You tell it. No, I want to tell it. No, you tell it. No, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, right. I have Facebook, and I'm just a techno Luddite, and my wife got me going in Facebook. And so she pointed out to me, there's this thing, go up here. And if you talk to somebody on Messenger, you can actually give them a phone call. You can call from your phone to a smart device or whatever, and you're not using the telephone lines. You're just calling over Facebook. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. Are you kidding? Technology allows you to do this. Are you serious? So then I called KARI Baxter Donovan tonight. Woohoo! On Facebook. And she blew my cherry. That's it. I'm gone. I'm no longer a virgin on Facebook. And I've got to tell you one thing. The phone, the quality of the sound as I talk to you, that was great. It was every bit as good as I get on the regular phone aspect of my smartphone. It was fabulous. So thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Well, it was my pleasure. And I was honored. As I told you when you called, I'm so honored. I just love you big time.
Well, thank you very much. You're so kind. Anyway, KARI writes at Populist Wire. It's Populist Wire, all one word, .com. And she has two very important big articles that apparently she and some other personnel are kind of like throwing spears and things like that at each other on Twitter. So you're writing about something that it's my understanding that pretty much nobody else has picked up at this point, and it's your stories on Populist Wire that are kind of pissing off some people in Hollywood. So, hey, KARI Baxter Donovan, tell us, what's up with that?
Okay, so I'm so thrilled about this story because I hate Hollywood resistance. I love old Hollywood. So I want to say that. I love the old golden age of Hollywood, and I lived there for a while. I worked in Hollywood for a while, so I have quite an attitude about this. So I was on Twitter, and, I was just looking for something interesting to write, and I saw this woman had posted, and somehow it got into my feed. I don't know how, but somehow it got into my feed, and she was saying basically that there were people who were calling her the N-word, and she had it there as big as day, and it jumped off the page at me, and I was like, whoa. And so she was saying, basically like, you guys are harassing me and you're giving me a hard time and all this stuff. And I went on her timeline and I looked and I saw that she was complaining about being harassed, sent death threats, and called all kinds of horrifying racist names, things I would never call anybody. And so I just dropped her a note and I said, hey, would you like to talk about this for Populist Wire? So, of course, I'm thinking, I love to take down that Hollywood resistance. I'd love to break them. I'm not going to be shy about that. So she started telling me her story, and she's a younger black woman, single mom, and she is a liberal. And she had kind of, been red-pilled. She'd been woke. She kind of had started to see some problems in the Democratic Party and in the resistance movement specifically. She has a huge social media following. And then she started telling me, her whole backstory and the things that she has been involved with. Originally, she came from like the world of hip hop, and she'd been working with 50 Cent.
Okay.
And so she knows a lot of people through that. She'd done some celebrity publicity, but she had been instrumental in building these little chat rooms for the Democrat coalition, not the Democrat Party, but a little group called the Democrat, Coalition. And she had been building chat rooms for them, using her celebrity contacts to bring them over into these little chat rooms. And in these chat rooms, she had rolled out some of her ideas. She's very big on victims' rights. So she's a liberal. She was a Democrat. You can find her name all over the place on Google. And she'd been doing things working in victims' rights. And this is very important to her because she herself is a survivor of incest and sexual abuse, and so is her son.
Oh, okay.
And so she was telling me this story about how she had started out sort of, on the outs with the Black Lives Matter. Now, she's black, and she knows lots of black people, but that's a whole, it's a whole other world. And so she'd already been having a little bit of problems because she was saying that the Black Lives Matter was not helping the black community, okay? Then she rolled out into, this is my victims' rights things, and the people that she'd brought into the chat room, one of them being Alyssa Milano.
Okay, right.
All these big Hollywood people are in these chat rooms, and they basically co-opt her work. And they start using it in ways that she wasn't happy with. She wanted to go a different direction with her activism on that. She's like the pre-Me Too movement.
Okay.
So the irony of the story is she is frustrated. She doesn't like what they're doing. She doesn't like what direction they're going in. She sees this as self-promotion. And she's like even though she's a liberal and she's, Democrat, she's really into really, she wants to help people. And that's what she believes she's doing with her activism. So she says, I'm going to leave the chat rooms. The only people who know that she's left the resistance are the people who are in the chat rooms. So she starts getting all of these death threats, racial slurs in her timeline, and it starts to kind of tick at her. And she said she'd been getting them for quite a long time, since like December, so for 6 months. And it finally just ticked at her, and she just couldn't take it anymore. And that's when I entered in. Tom Arnold has now broken the resistance, and he's telling the resistance, you guys better cut it out because I'm going to come and find you. So these articles at Populist Wire have actually, I say they have broken the Hollywood resistance, because now there's infighting, which is good. I'm glad. And I've written 2 articles on this woman. Now they're coming after me. They're threatening to sue me. They're threatening to sue Populist Wire. Of course, like I told them, I attributed everything. I will put your statements in the articles. Well, they don't want to put their names on anything, so they're playing all of these games with me. And then I have Alyssa Milano, who, if you go to my Twitter timeline, you will see I've had it with these people because, they're ticking away at me now and sending me all kinds of nasty, nasty things, like hundreds of them. So I go and I find where Alyssa Milano has said that she has not been contacted by a journalist, right?
Okay.
But I had tweeted her. She saw the tweet. And so I'm going back and forth with Alyssa Milano. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now...
But, she thinks she's a celebrity and she doesn't have to answer to anybody. So, I like a little bit of drama myself. So I'm stirring it up with the resistance crowd.
Okay, can we go back just for a little bit? We got about 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. And by the way, just to let you know, you're not in chat, so I'm putting links right now into chat so that people can go to your 2 articles there. Now the second one's in. Mm-hmm. So that people can go to your articles and read what it is that you've written about this. So let me back up, if I can, just a bit before the break.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically a leftist. She feels very strongly with, I would guess, women's issues, domestic violence, that kind of thing. Where was it that leftists thought she split Where did she go wrong in terms of the Hollywood elite? What did she do?
Oh, that's a very good question.
What did
yes,
she
I left
do
that out. So,
specifically that pissed him off?
She hates Nancy Pelosi. She's a leftist,
okay,
but she hates liberals. So it's really funny. But where she started to get off with them was she said, "I'm leaving this room because you all are using my movement, my victims' rights petitions." She had a number of different petitions. You are using those to promote yourselves. You're not victims. You're lying about being victims. Alyssa Milano, she says, is lying. Is not a victim and is using her ideas just to promote herself and doesn't care about any victims or anything like that. But the woman that I wrote about, Sharika, she's going to go after Cory Booker. She wants me to write an article about Kamala Harris. She hates her because these, like she says, these leftists who are in power are not using their authority, their power, their money, anything to help take care of the people who are suffering, right? So really what it is she's kind of a conservative, but she doesn't want to say that.
Okay, so basically,
she still calls herself a liberal.
Basically, what she's doing
shake them up.
is she's pointing out, and damn her. By the way, her full name, folks, if you didn't know, is Sharika, Sharika, Soul, Soal. So if you want to go to your favorite search engine and find out information about her, it's Sharika Soul. So basically what she's doing, KARI Baxter Donovan, is she's having the temerity to point out to leftists that any number of the emperors in the leftist world, they have no clothes. Okay, now the clouds are parting because she's saying that Nancy Pelosi has a lot of power and is not wielding it properly. That Kamala Harris has a lot of power, and she's not wielding it appropriately, and essentially that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I got about another minute before the break, correct me if I'm wrong, that these people, these two women and leftists in general, she's starting to say, are using their power for their own personal benefit and not for the benefit of the persons that they claim to support. Have I got that about right?
Exactly. Yes, and she tells me that black people do not like any Democrats and do not like liberals.
Okay,
she
all right.
said that it is a matter of time before they all leave.
Okay.
Because we've all had it. This name-calling thing was really, to me, like, wow. Let's hold that thought. That is a perfect time to take a break. Folks, we're going to take a break. Thanks for listening. We're talking to KARI Baxter Donovan. She's going to be here through the break up to the top of the hour at 9 o'clock or the magic witching hour at midnight. And then after the break at the top of the hour, we're going to talk to Dan Butcher. So right now we're talking to KARI Baxter Donovan, who's made a startling revelation. Folks, don't go away. Come right back. More to follow.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. It is the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. You can listen to the show and engage in the chat room. We've got a bunch of people in the chat room. So welcome to Mary, welcome to Whiskey Dale, welcome to Alan Thomas, welcome to Mike, welcome to Beantown Billy, and welcome to Simone. Thanks for being in chat. We've been talking to KARI Baxter Donovan, and she writes at populistwire.com, and she was telling us a story about a black female who had, or is having apparently, the temerity to kind of push back against leftists a little bit, and because of that, she's encountering some issues, and because KARI Baxter Donovan likewise had the temerity to write about this particular issue, essentially let the threats commence and let black people, oh my God, it's like... Gosh, who was it? Kanye West. The microsecond that Kanye West didn't carry the political mud for leftists, what a piece of crap he became. Would it be an accurate kind of semi-summary to say, KARI Baxter Donovan, that the left are trying to Kanye West this gal now, and you've exposed it? So tell us also what was happening.
It's absolutely incredible what they will do and say, how they will lie and twist things in order to try to force someone to either push their propaganda support their propaganda or to be quiet and go away in fear. And, we've always known that they've done that. I've seen it happening online for, I'm old, so for 20 years. And part of the reason why I became a social worker was because I always thought that, we were supposed to have equal rights and people had freedom of speech and all those things many, many, many years ago. So this has been going on forever. But because of the power of being able to be semi-anonymous and the flood of money by the leftist organizations and George Soros funding, these people, they're just so heady with the power of dominating and controlling people. And that's what leftists are. We all know that. That's their entire gig. And what they love politics about is who can I control and dominate now? But to see them attacking a black woman, a single mother, a survivor of incest, they know that because they were in chat rooms with her talking about it, to be harassing her, sending men after her to tell her to sell her body. I mean, the most...
What?
Conversations.
What? Okay,
oh, yes,
what were they doing?
Conversations. Oh, there's a black pastor, or bishop, I'm sorry, I think that's a pastor. There's a black bishop who is posting in public, all over to her about calling her names. He says that she's a coon.
What?
He tells her to go sell her body, and he is a black man. And I said to him, maybe perhaps I'm more of a man, because I don't think you should speak to a woman that way, and a woman who has a child. And so I've gotten personally involved in this, story, because to me, that is just that's fighting words, right? And so, but to see them, they're so bold. And, of course, these are some little henchmen that Alyssa Milano has. So she's paying people to go out and to do things. And, of course, they're feeling very, in these little chat rooms, they're feeling very close to her, so very defensive of her. And that's what I think has happened with this bishop. I don't know that he's gotten paid, but I think probably he's feeling, very defensive of the resistance movement, and he is going after her, after Sharika, and saying just the most horrifying things. And he hates Trump, and, that's a big deal. So some of them are very angry because she has taken a job with MAGA First News, and I know the people over there. And she's now saying, okay, well, then I'm a Trump supporter. And she does support Trump, and she does support some of his ideas, but she wants to remain a liberal. She doesn't want people to call her a conservative. But that's what's really gotten them angry. She's come out and spoken up.
She's almost the equivalent of a blue dog Democrat now. Because a real blue dog Democrat couldn't really exist in the Democrats these days. Now, folks, I want to play for you, and the reason I'm playing this is because it's a late-night TV show, so for this cut, put your little kiddies to bed. But this is what passes for good times on the Tony Awards when Robert De Niro came out. This is exactly what KARI Baxter Donovan is talking about. These people are insane, and they're leftists pushing harder left. And this was a live recording on the Tony Awards last night or night before, I don't know which, but this is Robert De Niro coming out in the Tony Awards, and this is what he has to say. And listen to the applause that he receives in the audience for saying this kind of crap live on the air, knowing he's going to get away with it.
De Niro.
I'm going to say one thing. Fuck Trump.
That's the first thing he says when he comes out. And the crowd goes wild. Oh, and now he's getting a standing ovation. They're all standing up.
It's no longer down with Trump. It's fuck Trump.
And that's what passes for class and leftists now in the world of Hollywood, just as you point out.
Well, Hollywood has been filth town for quite a while. It used to be an American treasure. And I know that there are some people who are still in Hollywood who are celebrities, names that you would recognize, who long for the days of beautiful American Hollywood. And it's been taken over by money. Of course, these people care about money, and they care about their press, and that's part of the reason why these articles are getting a ton of attention. It's because they're not used to having anybody say to them, you're wrong, you're not, I don't care about your celebrity status. I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. But never. I lived in Hollywood. I worked on Hollywood Boulevard. I was in the heart of Hollywood. My uncle was in the music industry. I know some of these people. They don't care about humanity. They're not human. They're not humanitarians. So what they're doing, and what I'm offended by, and what I've always been offended by, because I was a social worker when I lived in Hollywood. None of these people gave a care. But, they get in the way of humanitarians doing work, and that is what I'm offended by. And that's where Sharika and I really connect with one another. We don't agree on things. In fact, I say that, she wrote a petition to get Steve Bannon out of the White House. So that I am Steve Bannon fangirl.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
I told her, I said, we're going to have to talk about that, Steve Bannon. So I'll bring up his name every once in a while and laugh about it. But she has the right to her opinion. Am I going to call her a racial slur? Am I going to attack her or say that she's a terrible mother, or just hit at her triggers, having been a sexual abuse survivor, and try to destroy her and make her melt down so that she can't take care of her child because she made a petition for to get Steve Bannon out of the White House? It's so funny. One of her petitions, she got 1.3 million signatures. So when she makes petitions, she gets them out there. So that's what I'm offended by, and that's where she and I connect, is on the issues of real humanitarian aid, real humanitarian work. She's from Chicago, so she knows about, her, like she said, her mother had 3 children by the time she was 14.
Holy.
There are things going on in urban areas where Democrats are in control, and they are a humanitarian crisis in our own country. And we know that, right? We know those things. So that's why I'm fired up about these articles.
Okay, so you're getting, would it be fair to say that you're getting probably the greatest, or are you getting some of the greatest number of hits and reads out of these 2 articles recently?
I believe so. I don't have access to the stats. I asked today about it, and I think that, I was told by one of the guys, the owner who owns the site. He said that this is, if not our top story, it's our second, and that was, back earlier this afternoon. So wow. I believe it is.
Wow. Okay, so now she's getting threats because leftists in Hollywood are being exposed, despite the fact that these Hollywood leftists and sympathizers went in and essentially hijacked her idea, hijacked some of her chat rooms, and then because she was displeased that she did that, then now the ire gets focused on her. So she's been threatened. Alyssa Milano apparently says that she's going to sue this lady.
Apparently. Is she saying that now?
No, I was just curious if that was part of
no, they're talking about
on.
Suing me. They're going to sue me.
They're going to sue you because you wrote a story about what she said.
Right. Yeah, they say that that's libel. And I said, can you lay out that libel case for me, please? And they'll say, well, you didn't ask for a statement or anything. Well, first of all, that's of course not libel. But I said I did ask for a statement because if you go into the and they'll say that you didn't. We read your article and you didn't. I said, well, obviously, if you go in and you read the article, you'll see that there's a tweet there that's to Alyssa Milano. Would you like to make a statement? This is what I'm writing about. I also usually I will ask either by tweet, mail, or if I don't know the person's address or something. I always ask for a statement.
Okay.
And so they're claiming they have a number of, sock puppet accounts, and I'm slightly offended that I once again have to deal with people with very low IQs. And I know that's wrong. I know that's bad. But I get a little offended sometimes at the tricks and the things that they do, to try to trick me.
The truth is the truth.
So, what?
The truth is the truth. If the truth hurts, then, well.
It just is. So when I'm dealing with these Hollywood types, I'm a little slightly bit offended that they make so much money and they're so dumb. Okay, but that's something for me to get over. So they're trying to tell me that they're going to sue me for libel because I didn't ask for a statement, even though I did, even though I can find tweets where they verify that they've read the tweet and said, I read it, but I said that I never got anything from you.
Well, number one, that's not libel. Number two, that's not libel. And running in a close third, number three, that's not libel. This just in. Doot. So now the ire is moving from this lady who is a single mom. Probably she's not a celebrity. Let me guess, she's not making a high five-figure wage. Let me guess, she's not making a 7-figure wage or an 8-figure wage. And let me guess, she's probably not driving a Rolls-Royce Phantom or even a new Prius. So she's now the subject of the ire of all these expensive leftist tards. And so she's being the recipient because she's not carrying the water for leftists.
She's not carrying the water, and they're mad. They're mad, and they're violent, and they're racist, and they're rude, and they're intentionally trying to hurt a human being, a mother. And that is who they are.
It is. It's absolutely
they're turned on
who
me,
they
but
are.
I'm like, you're not going to upset me. Nothing is going to bother me, but they're trying.
No, because everybody knows that you're a fighter. And you are, in fact, you've made the transition now from someone who has a great background, who has lots of experience, you've got some good education, and you have now crossed the line, young lady, damn you, into being an actual journalist. You're the opposite. You're the anti-Obama. You have a phone and a pen, unlike Obama's ability to craft executive orders. You have the ability to document by way of your articles what's actually going on under right in front of people, under their noses, and a lot of leftists don't want to talk about, to the point where now you are subject to being threatened, where you are subject to being named in lawsuits because, like her, you have the guts to tell the truth and expose the emperor. Damn you.
So, that's who they are. I started a new little byline called, I think you're going to get this. I'm pretty sure you're going to get this.
Okay.
Lawfare is an extension of politics.
Oh,
because
okay.
that's the first thing they go to.
Yeah.
We're going to sue. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. So lawfare is an extension of politics.
Yeah, it is. It's another way, another fashion to make people shut up. And in the lawful world, and I heard this many times in open court when I would testify in criminal cases, the defense would use a phrase that I think is completely applicable here. And what a defense attorney would usually say if they didn't care for something that was about to come out in open court is that, Your Honor, if you made that revelatory, if you allow the prosecution to say this, then it would have what is called a chilling effect upon the rest of the case or upon other persons that may be connected to this case in some kind of an adjunct way. Well, they're afraid that you are having a chilling effect upon reality. And see, here, this is another reason why, and let me throw all the politics together, because I'm sure that this is eventually also where you're going. People are saying that there's going to be a massive blue wave. Here's another example. Jim Acosta, a CNN reporter, was at Singapore when President Trump and Rio Kim were signing pieces of paper, and he was extremely rude, shouting questions at the president and Kim while they were trying to conduct business. Some people were saying that Jim Acosta needs to be removed from the White House press corps, and I say no. Let him talk. And it's to Alyssa Milano, I would say no. Let her talk. And to all the rest of these leftists, no. Let them talk, because they are some of the finest. They are some of the finest illustrators of why people are finally starting to get fed up with the bullshit of Democrats, leftists, and the American media maggots. Now, I still remember this. We got about another 5 minutes before the top of the hour, and you said this about a half hour ago. And I'm not going to let you get away and walk away without explaining a little bit more about this. You said that people are finally starting to wake up, that blacks, for example, specifically, if I'm remembering correctly, are starting to realize that it's the leftists and the Democrats who have and are screwing them over historically. And so how did that come about when you heard anything even remotely like that?
So, and I'm going to say that, I already sort of know that on my own, because that's something that I have intentionally set out to do. I have a degree in social work and community organizing.
Okay.
And I left that insane world because I said, y'all are a bunch of communists and you're preventing people from living in liberty in America, and I'm not down with that. So I'm out of here, and I'm going to go and I'm going to try to set the captives free. And so I have spent, the last 20 years trying to communicate to Black Americans, hey, get off the Democrat, we say it, we overuse it now, plantation. Get out of there, because they're destroying your life. They're preventing you from having liberty. And that's my very passionate message for a very long time. So I know that it's happening, but she verified it to me today on the phone. She's a younger woman, and she told me, she said, she has a name for them, Hotibs or something. They're people from Africa, who she's in a group of, very African Americans. And she said, we're all sick of it. And I don't know any blacks who like Democrats. She even posted that today on her Twitter, because I was thinking I'm going to pick that up and use that in an article from her perspective. And she has 102,000 followers. She spends a lot of time interacting with blacks. It's a big issue for her. And she says that's her, that's her telling me that. She's saying that blacks are sick of being called names, that Black Lives Matter actually tweeted to her today saying, thank you for helping us get rid of all the crazy people who are messing up our movement. That would be the white liberals who are, right? So these series of articles have done a number of different things, and one of them is that she's saying she's getting notes from blacks saying, I'm really glad that you're speaking out. I'm tired of being bullied. And that's good for America, because, you and I know what the Democrats are all about. And like I told her, I said, Trump is going to win and he's going to keep winning. The difference with him is he's going to bring those jobs. We need people who have the job skills to get the jobs. That's what we need to concentrate on now. I think it's going to be a flood, I think that Black Americans do support Trump. And on her timeline, she had a black man in a Trump hat saying, I'm proud to wear this hat, and to come out. So it's causing all of these things happening on her timeline on Twitter.
Well, it's not going, you have to admit, it's not going well for Hollywood these days. It's not going well for leftists these days. It's not going well for Harvey Weinstein these days. It's not going well for all the serial rapists and sexual philanderers that were in the media and that were exposed, Charlie Rose, etc., et al. Right. Many of those people. It was Bill Clinton yesterday or the day before who I think was supporting Al Franken and saying that, well, it was rather wasn't right that Al Franken had to leave the Senate. That just wasn't right. And then he said, I don't know if you heard this quote. He happened to say something similar to, he's promoting a book tour with James Patterson, and I used to read James Patterson, and James Patterson aligning himself with William Jefferson Clinton. James Patterson, you can go straight to hell now as far as I'm concerned, never reading another one of your damn books again. But he's on a book tour with Little Willie, and the funny thing is that Clinton is getting nothing, and he's fielding nothing but questions about the Me Too movement. And yesterday he said something, isn't that grand, KARI BAXTER Donovan? Isn't that great? But he said something similar to, I guess the times have changed. It used to be that I could screw over people real easily, and now I can't do that quite so readily anymore. Or
I heard
words
that
to
he
that
said
effect.
Something about the standards have changed of what you could do to people without their consent or something like that. I was watching, I think it was listening to Rush.
Exactly. So what that told me... What that told me is that was an acknowledgement, a tacit acknowledgement by him that he knew that he was forcing people to do things absent their consent because of the way he crafted that sentence precisely. And so there's your face of the Democrats. And people say, well, Republicans, they just want to throw blacks and kick them off the bus and put them back on the plantation, make them slaves. No, you know who makes slaves?
Well, they always project what they're thinking. We know that.
Yeah.
That's
Democrats,
how you know what they're up to.
Leftists, and the American
Mm-hmm.
media maggots. They make slaves. Oh, and it's under... Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, where Hispanics in 4 decades have the lowest unemployment. Blacks in 4 decades have the lowest unemployment. Wages happen to be going up. There's a lot of things that President Trump needs to do, and he's certainly by no means perfect. Whew. And that was a great time tonight. KARI BAXTER Donovan. We're going to have to go. It's going to be the top of the hour in a little bit. We're going to be talking to Dan Butcher after the top of the hour break. But again, please, KARI BAXTER Donovan, tell people where they can read your stuff, where you can be found in social media, and if they want to chat with you, where can you be found, madam?
Well, please check out www.populistplayer.com. And then chat with me on Facebook or Twitter, which is KARI BAXTER Donovan, and on Twitter at Happit, HAPPIT 1776. Thank you for letting me come talk to you, because I always love to talk to you.
Oh, it was grand.
In talking about my articles, I'm fired up about this, so thanks for listening.
Okay, let me ask you one final question before you go, and that's this. Are you planning any future articles with her or articles that are similar in nature?
So someone just sent me a name of someone to interview who's starting a campaign called I'm Walking Out. So he's leaving the Democrats, and I'm going to go and interview him. And then my friend here, she wants to do a number of articles. She wants to expose a whole bunch of different people, and I like to give her that platform. And Populist Players going along and being awesome to me and letting me use the platform for that. So I think she might keep talking. Yeah. You know what's happening? Here's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, you heard it here first on BZ's show, which is why I can tell you, you're going to rocket up into the stratosphere very shortly, KARI BAXTER Donovan. And the other thing that I should point out to you, which I think is the obvious, is you want to talk about tsunamis? You want to talk about perhaps a red tsunami? You want to talk about pushback? You, madam, I think, are at the foundation of something just exactly like that. You are pushing back, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Wow. Thank you so much. And I thought of you today because I used that pushback 3 times.
Okay.
I could talk to you all night. You're going to have to kick me off.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to go because I got to hit a break, and I think Dan Butcher may be calling.
You're
so,
awesome.
Folks, KARI BAXTER Donovan, thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks so much. Okay. Talk to you later.
All righty.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to take a break and come back with Dan Butcher. Don't go nowhere.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute at gmail.com.
World with Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same Sack time, same Sack channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Like a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. It's the second hour. You are listening to the bloviating Zeppelin, Das Me, right here, live and direct in the SHR Media Studio, the palatial and sumptuous studio where, when I got here this evening, it was a loving, a perfect, a stellar 89 degrees in the studio, so I opened it up to the about 94-degree weather outside, and a great time was had by all. However, it's a studio, it's just a little roasty-toasty. So this is my game face tonight, even though I filled about, let's say a quart of water from all the sweat running down my back, through my ass crack and down into the bucket, which is underneath my seat. Now, if that isn't a vision for you, I don't know what was. The first hour, we talked to KARI Baxter Donovan, and now, for somebody we've known all these years, I'd like to welcome back to a phone system that apparently is now functioning. It's Dan Butcher, and welcome.
BZ, can you hear me?
Yeah, were you a little tenuous about calling in tonight? As in, let's see, will this be the second time that I've been shut down in as many weeks?
Well, BZ, I wanted you to know that, Sean Lewis sent me all the wonderful pictures that you guys took of all the great repairs that you were doing around the SHR Media studio, with all the tinfoil that's been put around, the big tinfoil antenna outside,
right.
and all the great wiring. I thought that was great. The great use of masking tape versus electrical tape, and different things like that. What was better, using a butter knife as a screwdriver, that type of stuff. I thought all the personal touches were great. So I was glad to know that y'all had nothing but experts working on the problem to get it fixed and solved, and so that we could be on the air tonight.
Hey, that butter knife thing, though, wasn't that clever? I thought that was damn clever.
That was awesome, man.
If you ask me.
It was.
Good God, y'all. Well, I've missed you, Dan, and it's been a while since you've been on. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to ask you about. At the same time, there's so much going on politically that I would like to talk to you about. But first, let me go back to one of the things that I initially wanted to talk to you about last Tuesday before everything else was shot down, and I didn't have a phone system for Sackheads last Wednesday, and I didn't have a phone system for my Thursday show last night. But one of the things that I wanted to get your input on was the Texas shooting, and there were some other things that had come up in terms of that particular shooting itself. And I wanted to get your take because I haven't been able to get it yet so far due to technical difficulties. But apparently that teenage shooter had a shotgun and a handgun, a revolver, and neither of them were purchased illegally. There wasn't actually one law that would have prevented this from happening in Texas, concomitant with the fact that apparently the shooter, this teenager, targeted people that he specifically knew and wanted to, I guess, essentially get rid of. And would that be accurate?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of different things that happened with this particular incident. There's kind of some interesting side stories that have developed. Obviously, this young man used his father's weapons to carry out this attack. He actually targeted a art class at the school, and there was different things. There was a story floating out that one of the girls that he shot was one of the targets because she had spurned his advancements toward him, would not go out on a date with him, and different things like that. There was other incidents where people were saying that he had been bullied and different things like that. But bottom line is, this was another one of these attacks that was carried out by a very disturbed young person. But in this case, he did not go out and purchase the weapons. He didn't steal the weapons. He just got them out of his dad's gun case and carried it out. And the motives are what they are. And it'll be interesting to see what plays out in the coming weeks as we get closer to the court dates and stuff like that. Now, on the side from the actual shooting, I think probably one of the more interesting things that's happened is that the parents, there's been a lawsuit filed in this case. And the lawsuit the first lawsuit was not filed against the shooter. It was not filed against the school district or anything like that. This lawsuit was filed against the parents of the shooter. And basically the gist of this lawsuit is they're suing the parents, saying that the parents were responsible for this young man obtaining the weapons because they were not properly secured at home. They were not properly secured. The ammunition was not properly secured. And so you can kind of see this is going with all of this. And so they're actually, in this lawsuit, they're actually looking at punishing the parents of this young man for making the weapons readily available so that he could carry out the crime. And so I thought that was probably one of the more interesting aspects of this. And now I want to let me kind of give you what the gist of this whole lawsuit is. They filed this lawsuit to, quote, affect change. And this was filed against the Santa Fe shooter suspect's parents. And it aims to hold gun owners responsible for the way they store their firearms around, quote, troubled children. Experts are saying it fits into a nationwide pattern of gun liability cases that aspire to keep gun owners and manufacturers accountable through fear of high-cost lawsuits. So you can see where this is starting to go, BZ. This is a new tactic that you're going to see as far as in the name of gun control, BZ.
In California, there are gun storage laws that exist already.
Yes.
So I would be accurate in saying that Texas has decided not to go there yet. They don't have an applicable law.
Pretty much. It's kind of you can be held liable and responsible if you make them available in a reckless manner and stuff like that.
Right.
This case is very unique because the young man, obviously, even if the gun case was locked at home, he still had access to it. And so you notice that I used the term that they were specifically saying how the parents were storing their firearms around troubled children.
Right.
So what else is going to come into play here is, were the parents aware of all of this young man's problems, mental issues, problems he was having at school, other issues he was having? Did they ignore it? Did they seek treatment for him? Were they trying to help him? Were they just casting him to the side? So not only will this lawsuit put them on trial, so to speak, for the way they were storing their firearms and trying to punish them for the crime that was carried out by their son, but it's also going to put them on trial as parents and say, hey, it was your job as a parent to know what was going on in this kid's head, and you need to be held accountable and responsible for the actions that were taking place through the guns that you owned and the way he obtained them and then used them in the commission of this crime. So it's going to hold them accountable in two ways: for the firearms he used and for them as parents. What did they do? What could they have done to have prevented this attack themselves?
On the face of that, initially, it sounds like a good idea. However, with this major caveat, who is it that's going to be the ultimate decider of you're a good parent, you're a bad parent, I like your parenting styles, I hate your parenting styles? And this is the part that particularly stymies me with regard to leftists, is they'll float an idea which on its face sounds, well, no one could say no to that. That just makes good sense. Until you begin to figure out and delve deeper and try to figure out, okay, who is it then, or a series of whats, who is it that's going to be the ultimate decider in chief of something like that? Because guaranteed, on your street, on my street, on the street of anybody in America, you associate with people and other parents, and we all have an idea of that person over there that I met at the party, that's a great parent. Those people over there, those are terrible parents, and the result, their kids are terrible too. Well, those are all judgmental styles. We know who the bad parents are, don't we? And the other thing is, how much did they really know about their kid. So if we're going to take it that far, are we going to damn these parents individually, singly? Or are we going to point out in a massive national fashion that altogether too many parents want to cast aside the parenting job and they want to be friends with their little kiddies? That doesn't work. That doesn't work, because if we decide that we're going to damn this set of parents, then we'd best be prepared to damn a lot of other parents as well. This is the proverbial slippery slope. Do we really want to go down the parental issue? Because that's going to open doors that I'm not sure leftists are going to want opened. Anyway, I knew you would have insight into that story, and that's one of the reasons.
Well, let me finish this segment up with this real quick, okay? Because this the attorney that has taken this case has been filed on behalf of some of the students and parents that were there the day of the shooting. Okay. The attorney handling this case, his name's Clint McGuire. He actually went. Graduated from that high school. His two children were present the day of the shooting, but they were in other wings of the school. Now, this McGuire says basically what he wants to make clear with this lawsuit is, and I don't want to tell you that the families in this lawsuit are seeking more than $1 million in damages for funeral bills, emotional anguish. Of course, obviously it's too early to get a precise estimate if this goes to court, is litigated, whatever. But the attorney said that he wanted to be clear that this case, he says it's not about money. Quote, this is what McGuire had to say. He said, the most important thing for the families is to ensure that no one has to endure the grief and loss that they're experiencing. And part of that is that parents are the first line of defense, and they know their children, or should know their children, better than anyone else. If you're going to have guns in your house, then you need to know whether your children can access those guns. And if your children have mental health issues, or if your child is being bullied, or if your child is wearing a, quote, born to kill t-shirt, or if your child has pressure cookers in their room. Now, I want to point this out because, the Santa Fe lawsuit is the latest in a growing list of several civil cases filed after mass shootings that date all the way back to the 1999 massacre at Columbine. And of course, this even goes further. And lawyers still maintain that they're not only trying to win money for the victims, but are also aiming to make a safer system that they feel has left children vulnerable to such attacks, especially since the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in 2012. This type of litigation is actually becoming more commonplace. Now, I also want to point out, coming back to the storage of firearms in the state of Texas, Texas does have a criminal law that's aimed at keeping parents' firearms out of the hands of children 16 and younger. Now, I want everybody to be clear that the parents of the shooter in this case did not break the law because their son is 17 years old. However, Greg Abbott has proposed raising that age to 17 in the state of Texas with the 40-point school safety plan that he recently introduced here in the state of Texas. It is currently being debated in our state legislature. But even though technically here in the state of Texas, the shooter's parents didn't break the law, the attorney McGuire says that the parents are still responsible for this shooting, and that this lawsuit is, quote, clarifying and, yes, even evaluating Texas parents' obligations to protect against the harm their children can wreak.
An interesting point. I understand why he's making it. I can understand the momentum behind it because of what's been going on. But again, you're going to open doors that I suspect leftists in particular are not going to enjoy, because now this calls into question the entire a year, 2 years, 5 years, a decade, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of child-rearing methods into question, where parents, again, want to be the friends to their children, and they're not the disciplinarians that they need to be. They love their kids, but their kids are not on this planet to adore their parents 24/7. They're there to be guided by their parents so that they can eventually be educated and they can fly free. Except, of course, when you have a 30-year-old living at home in the basement who sues his parents because he's getting kicked out of the home. That's a story for another day.
Right.
As well. Oh, my God. Okay, I can understand why they're doing this. Does Governor Abbott have any bills that he's considering, or any in the Texas legislature that apparently are coming up that you may have some problems with? Are they going a direction in Texas, in other words, Dan Butcher?
Well, let me tell you,
you're not
this is a whole other discussion
with.
for another show, is Governor Abbott's 40-point school safety plan that was introduced. And how they came up with this safety plan is Abbott held a series of town hall meetings with experts, school leaders, parents, all kinds of different officials, gun manufacturers, and everything. And and basically, the gist was this, to come up with this plan, and of course this was in direct reaction to the shooting at Santa Fe High School. And so there's a lot of different aspects to this plan. Obviously, in this case, one of the proposals in this is promoting but not mandating safe storage practices for firearms. Of course, some Republicans to the governor some Republicans have made it clear that they would strongly oppose any kind of bill to regulate gun storage. So it could be very interesting. I'm going to tell you right now, we're getting ready to, we've launched the 2018 Texas GOP State Convention this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, of course, they're having all the subcommittee meetings and stuff like that. On Thursday, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all the delegates will be here. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12,000 delegates from across the state will be here. And I will tell you right now, in all of the different caucus meetings and sub-meetings and different things like this, Governor Abbott's plan is going to be hotly discussed and debated between the more moderates and the conservatives in the party. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of those dynamics play out. And I'm going to close with this before we go to the bottom of the hour. And I'm going to come back to, because I had some people ask me, why are people filing these type of lawsuits? And once again, it's because they feel they can affect change with them. That's why they're filing both criminal and civil lawsuits aimed at delivering justice to victims, but they also think they can deter bad behavior. To put it in a nutshell, these folks think that civil cases do that by discouraging individuals and corporations from risky practices that might get them sued. The threat of lawsuits can compel industries full of costly lawyers' fees, costly settlements, to regulate themselves, even when lawmakers don't. Somebody used an example, in the 1950s and the 60s, before a whole host of different tort cases, small appliances, had an alarming tendency to catch on fire. But they say that was eliminated due to tort cases, lawsuits, or whatever. McGuire believes, and a lot of the folks on the left, and even a lot of folks on the right, believe that these type of high-profile civil cases involving school shootings, by not only holding the kids accountable, but holding the parents accountable, will help prevent similar tragedies. They also believe that suing the gun manufacturers and holding them accountable will prevent this type of stuff. But once again, they're forgetting the one little element in here. It's not the gun that carried out the crime. It was the individual. They're forgetting to stop and think, what made this individual carry this out? So were the parents maybe responsible? Maybe so, if they did not know what was going on with their child. But then again, a lot of times we've seen things can appear normal on the surface, but underneath the surface, there's a boiling volcano waiting to go off, BZ.
Social change by lawsuit. That's odd. I talked about that with KARI Baxter Donovan in the first hour. That's called the chilling effect. And apparently, attorneys, that attorney and others like him want there to be, the phrase that was used in open court many times is that, by defense attorneys, I should point out, was, Your Honor, if you do this for the prosecution, that will create a chilling effect that will directly affect my client and others like him, which is precisely why we ought not to go down this road, Your Honor. So it appears that, like KARI Baxter Donovan said, this is like lawfare, social change lawfare. And this has come directly out of Parkland. And that little teen moron who fancies himself a dictator for life, he'd best start studying if he wants to be a federal judge, however, just saying. So it's the bottom of the hour. I've got so much stuff to cover with Dan, and we've only got a half hour left to do it. Folks, you are listening to Dan Butcher, who was the High Plains pundit. And, hey, folks, before we go, tell everybody where your site can be found.
Oh, buddy, let me tell you something. I'm glad you brought that up. Hey, our main news and information website, of course, is highplainspundit.com.
Okay.
Of course, we focus on regional news in our regional area. Of course, we cover the entire state of Texas. We are the largest regional media outlet in the state of Texas for medium-sized markets. So something we're quite proud of, and we've worked long and hard to achieve that. Of course, we also carry national and world news, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We also have High Plains Talk Radio and High Plains Pundit TV. If you go to High Plains Talk Radio and High Plains Pundit TV, especially if you were watching our coverage of the summit yesterday, you will know that we gave High Plains Pundit TV a massive makeover, as well as High Plains Talk Radio. I think everybody enjoyed it. So if you go to highplainspundit.com, you can get to everything from there. Just hit on the various tabs, and it'll take you to what you need to see.
Outstanding. Folks, we're talking to Dan Butcher. We're going to cut to a break. We're going to be right back with Dan Butcher right up to the end of the show. Go nowhere, because this, after all, is the place to be.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's the final half hour. 2 hours. An hour and a half, I should say. Boom. Gone like that. Quick like a bunny. Thanks to everybody that was in chat. Thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for listening live. Thanks to KARI BAXTER DONOVAN for being here in the first hour. And we're going to continue to talk. And thanks to Dan Butcher of High Plains Daily News out of Amarillo, Texas, with a great and unique insight into all things political. Very briefly, because it is of import, I'd like to talk to you, Dan, about what occurred recently in North Korea. I don't want to spend more than about maybe 5 minutes or so on that, and I'd like to end the rest of the show with a topic that I've wanted to address with you for some time, and that's the current state of affairs with regard to journalism. Before we go there, though, I would like your input in terms of what I'm sure lots of leftists these days, after what happened yesterday, are shaking their heads and doing the Warner Brothers in terms of what the hell just happened. And especially, who's under the biggest threat of assault these days? That would be the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, because, oh my God, if he actually gets this stuff to work, oh, are they ever in a pickle? Well, let's talk. Let's find out. What do you happen to think of what occurred in Singapore with regard to Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, top of his head, and Real Kim?
Well, let me tell you, we have devoted almost all day yesterday and today to covering the summit. So there's so much to talk about. But I'm just going to give it to you in a nutshell. I think the document that they signed to to denuclearize the Korean peninsula is a good thing. Get the nuclear weapons out of the hands of North Korea. Of course, the United States had to have a little bit of give there. Had to give some guarantees of protection and different things like that. Of course, the United States was also real careful to talk with other countries in that part of the world, the South Koreans, of course, China, Japan, Taiwan, etc. So there's a lot of different dynamics at play there. I still think there's going to be a question if Trump's going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I think if he had gotten an agreement right there and brought the two leaders of South Korea and North Korea together, and as part of the document that they signed brought an end to the Korean War, he's a shoo-in for the Nobel Prize. But I think that's something that's going to be worked on. Of course, Trump is going to go to North Korea. Little Kim is going to come to Washington, D.C. and visit the White House. So I think that's some stuff that's going to be hammered out over the next few months to bring the Korean War to an end and different things like that. Two misses in this summit real quick.
I know what they are.
Number one, I thought that Donald Trump really missed a golden opportunity to discuss human rights violations by the North Korean government.
Bingo.
That is a big issue right there. If Trump had brought that up and discussed it and made some progress there, he's a shoo-in for the Nobel Peace Prize. I think they struck out big time by making human rights a non-issue during this summit. The other thing that really shocked a lot of people along in the Korean Peninsula was the fact that as part of this of agreement that Donald Trump has agreed to stop U.S. and South Korean to stop the U.S. and South Korean annual war games that have long been defended as defensive and vital by allies. That took a lot of people by surprise that they are going to end those war games. But of course, North Korea has always seen those as provocative. The Chinese have always seen those as provocative. So Trump, he's really going to have to balance everything here. And what is obviously we want to keep North Korea on the defensive. We want to bring them into in compliance. Where I think the biggest issue needs to be after we get the nuclear weapons out of their hands, human rights has to be at the top of the discussion list, and that has to be dealt with. So Trump is walking a very fine line here. He has to balance North Korea. Even if you take North Korea out, you take nuclear weapons out of the hands of the North Koreans, they still have one of the largest standing armies in the world with well over 1 million troops. They're still very strong with conventional weapons that they can hit South Korea, that they can hit Japan with. So you still have to balance that. You have to balance the needs of our allies with Japan, South Korea. So you have to balance that and make sure that they're protected and all of their needs are met. Not only as being defense partners with us, but also being trade partners with us. And of course, you have to weigh the needs of Chinese, especially. Not so much militarily, but trade agreements and stuff like that. So there's a lot to handle here. This is just an open door to a much broader discussion that's going to have a lot of major players in it in the coming months and years, as far as what has been started with this summit between Kim and Donald Trump.
There's a very unique and interesting article. Well, before I go to the article, let me say this. I believe, And I'm curious what you think. This is just the first of many sit-downs. Everybody that thinks this is going to be the singular end-all and be-all to anything that's going on here between these two nations, they couldn't be further from the truth. There will be a continuing series, I believe, of meetings for this. So this is just the beginning. This is just Donald John Trump sitting down and beginning to suss up the guy that's on the opposite side of the table from him. Let me go another different place here just for a moment in terms of North Korea. Nancy Pelosi came out and said she trashed the Trump deal and the North Korean summit, and she said that the Iran deal was a diplomatic masterpiece.
Bullshit.
Well, let me back that up just for a second, because I'd like to remind everyone about Operation Cassandra or Project Cassandra. That's where, literally, the Obama administration allowed Hezbollah terrorists to freely traffic drugs and launder money in order to broker that Iranian nuclear deal. And no one talks about this, and it drives me frequently batshit. So Obama's legacy, no, it's right on the heels of Operation Fast and Furious, where that was a cock-up, and basically President Obama's White House, and I lay it directly on his steps, dismantled an operation which was targeting Hezbollah in order to get Tehran, the capital of Iran, to agree to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the deal that was designed to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons. So this Project Cassandra was launched back in 2008, and it was led by the U.S. DEA, which is the Drug Enforcement Agency. And it was dedicated to try to reduce as much as they could the amount of money that terror organizations like Hezbollah, for example, sponsored heavily by Iran, obviously, reduce the amount of money that they could raise by way of drug trafficking, heroin, the poppy fields, money laundering. Hezbollah finally was designated a U.S. State Department foreign terrorist organization in 1977, but they were more and more increasingly involved with trafficking of cocaine and other drugs. So here's what Barack Hussein Obama did. He put the DEA project on hold so that he could get the deal brokered with Iran. So the cash that flowed into Iran from the interruption of Hezbollah being interrupted, all that was enabled by Barack Hussein Obama, who wanted to be a shining star in his own mind in order to broker that deal with Iran. So what happened is now, currently, all those missiles and rockets that are being lobbed over to Israel day by day, hour by hour, who funded all those? Oh, that's right. It's Barack Hussein Obama. Right. So before Nancy Pelosi, you cork off about some of that stuff, you ought to back your ass up and remember that some other stuff was occurring under your regime that you thought was either nifty peachy or you just didn't want to know at all. Now, here's another story, and before we get into the bigs of journalism, oh my gosh, we only have about 13 more minutes left. There is one, I'm probably just going to have you back to talk about the journalism thing. We might get into it a little bit, but there was a huge case that just came out today, and I didn't see this coming at all. And being a man that's in journalism and into knowing about businesses and whatnot and mergers, and once I say the word merger, you're going to know what I'm going to talk about. Today, AT&T happened to win. There was a judge that cleared what the hell was it? It was $85 billion. There was an $85 billion bid made for Time Warner that this judge authorized with no conditions whatsoever. So here's a federal A U.S. District Court judge by the name of Richard Leon, he imposed absolutely zero, zip, nada, zed, the null set, no conditions on that merger's approval. He told, or I should say he urged, air quotes, urged the government not to seek a stay when issuing his decision in a closed-door meeting with reporters. And so shares, resultingly, of Time Warner jumped about 5% in trading, and shares of AT&T dropped about 2%. A massive mega merger like this going through with no conditions. Now, I can remember, I'm a buff of railroad history, and I can remember that when the Union Pacific was buying every damn railroad on the table. It bought the Cotton Belt. It bought the Burlington, or no, I'm sorry, it didn't buy BNSF. It bought the Chicago Northwestern. It bought the Denver Railroad. It bought a ton of railroads. And then it finally ate Southern Pacific in 1996, and that almost didn't go through. Well, after eating Southern Pacific, that didn't sit well in terms of digestion for the Union Pacific because they grew so damn big that they really didn't know how to run the damn system. And that's when merger mania was going on. And then the railroad history, basically railroad mergers, they took a big-ass break after that because it shattered a lot of consumer and customer confidence in the railroads to do a damn thing efficiently. Well, now we've got, this is a mega merger. Well, what the hell is next on the horizon? Comcast, Universal, Amazon? This opens a door that I really question whether this judge seriously considered what the hell he was doing when he said, A, that's just fine, and B, I don't care. Conditions? We don't need no stinking conditions. Any thoughts on that, Dan?
Well, I'm gonna sum it up this way because you have to really look at the scope of what this merger is. This merger is going to combine one of the largest communications network providers with a major player in the entertainment market. Oh, yeah. And folks, we're going to talk about media probably on another show, but this merger it could shake up the media world because you mentioned Comcast. It could immediately trigger another deal between Comcast and Fox, which already has an agreement to sell its entertainment assets to Walt Disney. And also, this deal comes at a time when traditional media and internet service providers are seeing the likes of Google and Facebook as their key competitive threat. So you can kind of see the dynamics at work here as you're starting to see the shift in entertainment, in media, in news media, all around the country. You have these you have all these investment companies that are buying up newspapers and sucking them dry, and basically running them to the ground, trying to get every last dime they can out of them before print media goes away and different things like that. So this just opens a door for a tidal wave of ripple effects, BZ, as far as what we're going to see with entertainment companies, media companies, et cetera, et cetera.
This was a 6-week trial, and the DOJ, what happened is the Department of Justice sued in 2017, I think. They wanted to block the merger entirely. And they were saying that AT&T, which, by the way, if you don't know, AT&T is what owns DirecTV. So there are two major vendors for your satellite stuff. The two major vendors are DirecTV, owned by AT&T already, and then there's Dish Network. And so they were thinking that, okay, if this occurs, AT&T, the owner of DirecTV, they could just decide that they're going to charge now their opposites, like rival distributors, more now for any amount of Time Warner content, and that's going to mean higher prices for consumers because, as you and I both know, Dan Butcher, when you have competition is what helps to knock down prices. And then people begin to compete for your business, for your presence, and for your dollars. That's exactly what railroad customers and clients discovered when Union Pacific became one of basically the three big railroads in the United States when at the top of the 1900s, there were close to 200 railroads in the United States, and each could claim a percentile of share, and each had certain customers to try to satisfy. Well, who do you go to then under this mega merger, and there could be more, when, let's say, you're having a problem with DirecTV and this major merger, who else do you go to now? And because this is going to set off, a cascade, just as you point out, Dan Butcher, it's going to set up a cascade of future mergers because all the rest of these big companies looking to become bigger and have a more dominant place in the digital world because, as you indicate, they feature that their major competitors are the Alphabet agency, which owns Google,
right,
and also Facebook, and they're in it also for the data as well.
Yes.
Just like Facebook, just like Google. They want to be those guys. And with this ruling, in my estimation, they're sure as shit well on their way. So,
well, let me, you're making a point that a lot of consumer advocates are arguing. They're arguing that, basically that the big media conglomerates are the winners and consumers are the losers with this decision. A lot of them are arguing that merging AT&T which is one of the largest cable and satellite and mobile broadband companies with Time Warner, like you said, will lead to higher prices, fewer choices, and, even fewer voices. They're also arguing that, of course, everybody is aware that all of the net neutrality has gone away, and so now some people are saying, you know what? With this merger, AT&T would be free to favor Time Warner content on its cable, and its fixed and mobile broadband networks. So there's a lot of arguments that could be made here. People are wondering, well, can the government appeal this decision? More than likely, the court's not going to grant the Justice Department a stay that would postpone the merger. Time Warner and AT&T, they face a deadline of June 21st to complete this merger. If the merger falls apart, AT&T could end up paying a $500 million breakup fee to Time Warner. So once again, the chances of this being stayed, delayed, etc., is 0 to none at this point.
I mean, it's just we're going to have to go in a little bit, and I want to thank you again so kindly for being here. But just think about this. This is incredibly staggering, and the door is now open. It's AT&T's. Think of the figures. Think of the money. Think of the children. AT&T's $85.4 billion purchase of Time Warner that this judge said he had no problem with whatsoever. And moreover, I think even possibly more disturbing than just the decision itself is the fact that there were no restrictions whatsoever placed in the way of this merger. The judge said, you know what, whatever you guys decide, that's fine. And let the chips fall where they may. I can't really, just knowing how massive corporations go, I can't really see at this point this merger having a great effect, a positive effect on the little people like you and me who purchase our content and we have to buy our media and we have to be satisfied with whatever it is that falls for service, air quotes, service, when you have a problem with your cable provider. Or you're, in a package, when your cable goes out, sometimes with, like, certain neighborhoods that I know of, when your cable goes out, when Comcast goes out, oh, by the way, your phone goes out too. Isn't that amazing? Okay.
I see it every day on a competition basis in my market where I'm at. Gatehouse Media, who's a big mega investment company in newspapers now, owns over 140 daily newspapers across the country. That does not include the 400 plus weekly newspapers that they include across the country. They own 2 of them in my area, in my market. So
yeah.
You talk about going up against the big guys. We do it on a daily basis here, my friend.
Well, again, that's called competition, that you have the ability to do that. And in terms of competition, for who you are and where you are not found wanting at all. So, folks,
no, and actually, we're the top dog.
Yep.
So obviously, they're going to come after us, and you know what? So be it. I think the more media companies, the better in a market. It keeps everybody honest. It keeps the information flowing. It certainly keeps the politicians honest. Checks and balances. But you know what? It is a good thing. Actually, competition is good, and I'll tell you what, competition certainly makes us. We certainly go after the stories. We go after the stories that we feel that obviously we're going to go after the obvious stories, but we're going to go after the stories that a lot of people are not going to go after, that people need to know about, that need to read, need to hear about, need to see. And that's the stuff that we're going to go after too. And I think that we go above and beyond what a lot of big media company conglomerates that are answering to shareholders, so they're pinching every penny, every dime. They don't want to spend any money to do research, investigative reporting, et cetera, et cetera. Don't want to be a part of the community anymore, stuff like that. They're no longer the community leaders. And so, obviously I'm more than happy to fill that role, and we'll continue to do so.
Perfect. And you know what your role is, and you do it. Plus, the other thing is you don't have to get involved in the mega politics of something where if you feel like covering any topic, any story, there's no one to get in your way, to stand in your office door and tell you, today, Dan, we're not going to cover that. Just move on. There's nothing to see there right now. That's not going to happen in the High Plains. Yeah. That's not going to happen.
The only arguments I have are with my editors and reporters on the stories we're going to cover. But you know what? I defer to their judgment. I'm going to go with my judgment on the stuff that I'm covering. I defer to their judgment on the stories that they're reporting and that they're seeking out and that they're investigating as well.
Perfect. Folks, we have been talking to Dan Butcher, High Plains Daily News. You got to go there if you want to find out what's happening in Texas, nationally, and also around the globe. Dan, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight. Salutations, sir.
You bet. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
All righty. Thank you. Take care. Folks, it's the end of the show, and what a show it was.
Monsieur has been locked!
First and foremost, I want to thank KARI Baxter Donovan for being here in the first hour. And I also want to thank Dan Butcher for being here in the second hour as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I want to thank you for listening tonight to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, live and direct right here in the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me? You can go to my blog, bloviatingzeppelin.net. Find me on Twitter at BZEP, B-Z-E-P, or you can send me hate mail, bz at shrmedia.com. Promotional consideration by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And, of course, Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust You Can Trust. Plus our new sponsor, the Allahu Snack Bar, a little bit of Mohammed in every bite. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I'll be consorting in less than an hour. Stand by for Sackheads Against Tyranny tomorrow night. Theoretically, Sackheads Clint should be here. And Thursday night, Tarzana Joe, right here in the saloon. Folks, God bless. Take care. Be safe. Thanks for listening live. Thanks for being in the chat room. Thanks for listening by way of podcast. Take care. Good night.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.